I don't know about you, but when I get really sick, I'm laying in bed and I'm hating everything. I'm hating my life. I'm hating the world basically. And I'm wondering now, Michael, when you are sick, do you feel any sort of way? Do you ever ponder the afterlife?
Well, I've long since realized that the incarnate part of your existence is only a training wheels phase. Many people will have very strong ideas about a quote unquote afterlife, meaning a quote life after death, which they
Right.
usually attribute to some mythology or other. But I've gone after the question in a much more methodical way, because I'm not interested again in a mythology or in pipe dreams or in deceiving myself, but I was very interested, still have always been very interested in the thing that is the ultimate self, the ultimate you, that is sort of a passenger in your physical body, and how connected it is, how dependent it is upon that physical body. And I've long since come to the conclusion, and had it reinforced by all my further research into this area, that the essential thing that is Michael me or Michael you is simply temporarily using a physical body to realize itself, to define itself against the objective universe's manifestations that are external to it. So it's a way of sort of finding out who you are by bashing yourself physically against the things that you aren't. And that gives you an initial sense of identity. But once you have that identity, then you become less dependent upon your physical body to reinforce it. Then you begin to realize what you really are, which is the metaphysical entity that is Michael, whether you or me. And the more that you understand that, then the less of concern your body is. At this point, I have absolutely no doubt that when this body crumbles around me, that I will continue right on. But I will continue right on in actually a much more integrated sense, a much stronger sense, a sense in which I'm actually freed from the limitations of being buffeted by all the physical senses that the location in this body inflicts. Because as long as you are incarnate in a body, then you are, as I point out in Mind War,
Right.
continuously battered by all the physical senses, which tend to reinforce the notion that you are the sum total of your physical senses. However, researchers such as Dr. John Lilly, who, of course, blazed the trail in terms of sensory deprivation in his isolation tank studies back in the 60s and 70s, who was caricatured in the movie Altered States and the book Altered States, by Paddy Chayefsky, shows that your self, your consciousness, not only continues, but is actually much stronger and more integral as the sensory input is removed. You don't collapse. You don't go insane. You don't lose your sense of identity. These things all become stronger. And the ancient Egyptians knew this as well, and they did a great deal of writing and thinking concerning the soul, and actually, or the mind star, as I call it. And they indeed divided it into 8 subdivisions of levels of consciousness that focused on different aspects of your personal existence and self-realization. And those 8 emanations of your mind star, as I like to call it, are all discussed in detail in my book Mind Star, which is sort of a handbook for the human soul, as it were. So I would suggest to people who are concerned about their immortality, don't worry about mythology. You want to look at the actual evidence for this in a very personal sense that you can understand when you're thinking about it yourself. Not whether you're believing some myth cycle, but what, when you look at it and you have something pointed out to you on the printed page as a concept, it'll click right into your head and you'll say, yes, I understand that. I sense that. I'm aware of that. I realize that. That's me. And I've said over and over again that people don't learn a whole lot in my books that they don't already know. They just have it brought to their attention, what they already know.